going to tell you exactly why I am no longer talking to white people about race.
And I'm tired. I am tired.
Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am so excited to have you guys back today because today is the first episode of my new segment called Read with Miss Varz. Now the reason why I started this is because I feel as though our generation is not reading enough. Young people are not reading anymore, and I think that's really sad because there is so much to gain from holding a book and reading it, especially a historical or informative book. So I took it upon myself to try and rectify the issue by coming on here and suggesting super cool books to you guys that I think are really beneficial and that all teenagers should read, or young people. And yeah, that's just what I'm gonna do because I love to read and I want to share it with somebody. This is especially important for all of my ethnic minority brothers and sisters because I feel as though the history we learn at school, it's not the complete story. It is one narrative from one perspective. You know what I'm saying? So if I come on here and suggest some books that you can read outside of school, then hopefully that will give you like a wider understanding of your history, where you come from, how you've played a part into British society. Because let me tell you, from reading this book that I'm about to show you guys, I've learnt a lot. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna learn because knowledge is power and power is knowledge. Okay, so the first book that I am recommending in this segment is this bad boy right here. This is the best book I have read ever till today, obviously. This is the best book. It's called Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race. You can't see the white people part because it's in white, so that's what it says, to white people. It's such a good book. It's such an amazing book. It is by Reni Eddo-Lodge. I can show you a picture of her because I know exactly where the picture's at. This is Reni Eddo-Lodge and this is her first book. So I mean, for her first book, not even for her this book is amazing, but to say it's her first book, I don't know how she's gonna write her second book because she's just outdid herself. This book costs about £16.70 from Blackwell's, but everywhere you can find this anyway. Okay, let's get straight into the video and let me tell you why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race is an amazing book and why it's in your best interest to go and get a copy and to read it. So if you see me look down a lot, it's because I've got notes and I want to like make sure I cover everything. I found this book very inspiring and empowering. And as a young black lady, I know I said that term a lot, but I like to say it. As a young black lady, reading this book, you know when you feel freed? You know when you feel as though you've been holding something in and someone has just taken the weight off of your shoulders? That's what this book did. It articulated everything I have felt for the past 3-4 years.
This book says it. This book says it all. Everything I've been angry about is in this book, and
she articulates it very well. She has evidence to back it up. Evidence. This book, it touched on a range of themes, okay? It talks about race. It talks about class. It talks about institutional and systematic racism. It talks about white feminism and obviously how black ladies play a part into that, then obviously leads on to intersectionality. It talks about employment. It talks about housing. This book covers everything. It even talks about white privilege. And my favourite part about this book, my favourite theme that it touches on, is a section called Histories in the book, a chapter called Histories. Wow. Reni, wow. You, Reni, outdid yourself. She gives you a full history of where black and brown people started and came from, and how they ended up in Britain, and why they have a right to be here, and why the people who say get out of my country, go back to where you come from. Why here immigrants are taking all of our jobs? Why people who say that are ignorant?
I'm tired. I am tired. I'm tired. Okay?
It talks about how Indians, Africans and Caribbeans were recruited to come to Britain and work and do manual labour in Britain during World War One and World War Two, and how they built up the infrastructure of Britain and how they shaped it. It also talks about slavery and how places like Bristol, Liverpool benefited and made their wealth from the slave trade. So her first chapter is about Black history and civil rights movement within Britain, because often I feel as though when we talk about civil rights we think about America and we think about it as something that happened over there and it's far away, and we never actually think about the civil rights movement in Britain. And this book gives you a breakdown of exactly how police brutality, racial wars, oppression, it gives you a breakdown of everything. So she starts with the histories and then moves till she gets to 2017 basically, and she tells especially young Black boys, I would really recommend you read this book, because it tells you why things that have happened to you have happened to you, why you're the ones who always get stopped and searched, why you're the ones who always end up dropping out of school early or getting kicked out of school, why you're the ones who have less chances of being employed, why you're the ones who don't get accepted into prestigious universities, why you're the ones who never get a chance to become CEOs or to become owners of companies. This book tells you exactly why. It tells you what the system is that has been built against you. This book explains it all. I'm not going to tell you what it says because I want you to go read it, but I'm just going to tell you what it touches upon.
And
the reason why I love this book is because it's not a blame game book. It's, you know, I don't like that narrative. I like the narrative of this is what happened, this is where we are, and this is how we're gonna like move forward or get, like, you know, I like that sort of attitude, and Reni adopts that attitude. It is incredible. It's an incredible book.
It touches on everything that you feel. This book says it all.
It talks about how institutional racism began as a term. It talks about a trial that's very, very famous, Stephen Lawrence's trial, and how the police failed him, and how since then the term institutional racism has been used. It talks about intersectionality, systematic oppression. It talks about the Rhodes Must Fall campaign in Oxford. And I remember last year like going to a campaign to fight for the statue of Cecil Rhodes to be removed. Well, then if I walk around Oxford I can find 3 statues of the man who colonized my country, Zimbabwe. Just down the road there's a statue of him, big massive statue in Oxford. It also talks about Brexit. That's why I like this book, because it's very recent. It came out last year, like 6 months ago. It's very recent, so it talks about the things that are happening now. It talks about Brexit and how that's played a part into xenophobia. You know, when the campaigns were going on and you saw the long line of immigrants, and you know the Leave people were saying, oh my god, look at what's gonna happen if you don't vote Brexit. This book talks about how that entices an atmosphere of hate, and obviously that went hand in hand with Trump as well. So
yeah, I'd really recommend this one.
And the thing that I like the most about this book is that in her last chapter, which is called There's No Justice, There's Just Us, she talks about ways to move forward. She offers suggestions on what we can do as a nation, as a British nation, to move forward. White people, Black people, brown people, all of us side by side. She talks about how everyone has a role to play in ending racism. And it's true, like this is not just a thing that Black people have to do, or brown people or white people. This is a thing that everyone has to play a part in doing and helping, and this book explains all of that, which is absolutely incredible. It also touches upon how having an African or Asian name plays a part in how far you succeed in life. When you send out CVs, you have the same qualifications as someone called Lucy, for instance, and if your name is Varz, same skills, same everything, the difference is your name. Unfortunately, we're gonna lose. When you have an African or Asian sounding name, already someone has an unconscious bias against you, and they don't know it. It's not intentional, I think, but that's what happens, you know. Yeah, so if you want to explore race and racism in the society we're living in today, I would highly recommend you read this book. And if you're curious to know where you come from or how you got here, or what to reply to someone when they tell you to get out of their country or that sort of thing, reading this book honestly will help you. And if you're tired, like many of us are, you just don't want to talk about race anymore with white people, you don't have to. You don't have to. And that's what is great about this book. It gives you options. You do not have to educate. It's not your job to constantly educate people on why they can't say certain things or do certain things, or why it's wrong to behave in certain ways, or why you can't just come up to me and touch my hair or pat me like a zoo animal or say certain things. Like, this book, at some points I cried at some points, just because it hits home when someone actually says how you feel and what you've gone through. It's kind of like, whoa, I didn't know I needed that. So those are some of the themes explored in this book. You've got racism, privilege, you've got class, you've got intersectionality, you've got feminism, you've got justice and the police system, you've got politics, you've got the media representation, and you've got historical information, all in one book. Imagine just reading one book. £16.99 to get information. It's not every day to just learn about the Tudors or Henry VIII. Sometimes you need to really understand where you come from. Your culture and identity is who you are, and even if you were born in Britain, which is fantastic, you still got to understand your ancestral background. And yeah, that's just what I think, man. You just gotta understand, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's why I'm so excited about this book, and I would highly recommend you buy it. And if you want it but you don't want to pay for it, enter my giveaway in the other video, you know what I'm saying? That's why I love that book, and that's why I'm no longer talking to white people about race. It's an amazing book, and I recommend you all go and buy it and read it. And yeah, if you have any books that you've read and you think, wow, that's amazing, that could really teach young ethnic minorities a thing or two, then please recommend it in the comment section down below, and I'll be more than happy to review it and read it. And yeah, I'm so excited. I'll see you in my next video. I hope this does encourage you to go out and buy this book, because honestly, your life will change, let me not lie to you. But it wasn't ready for the repercussions and responsibilities that came with its colonizing of countries and cultures. It was black and brown people who suffered the consequences. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please do comment down below what you'd like to see next in my Read with Miss Varz segment. And I'll be seeing you in my very next video, which is going to be so special. So thank you, and bye.